All right, good morning, everybody. Good to see you all. So again, I want to thank you all for sending in the emails. Keep them coming. And like we said, if you want to be on the priority list, just email me and we will get them answered. So continue to do that. Okay, so let us get into today, which those of you know, I mean, we've been talking about it for a while. But you can see that the news is taking it to a whole other level right now because of everything that's been going on with oil. So we'll move on to the next page and we will start discussing that. All right, so now the question is, so we went to make new lows. Now the question is, do we have some sort of capitulation, right? Everybody's starting to talk about it. We're talking about oil right now. And you see some pretty good selling overnight, breaking down below all the lows. So, and you start to see a little bit of a slowdown coming into today. So we do have a couple of things. Typically, when you see market turns, you do see high volatility coming in. We talked about the VIX yesterday. So we do have a couple of things on our side with that. I found it a little bit interesting, though, the one person that had a slightly different view of things yesterday, where he was saying that, if you really look at the shale oil for the U.S., I mean, they've really increased by double the amount of barrels, right, per day from 2011 to 2018. So it did double, and that's requiring less oil from overseas. So with Saudi Arabia and Russia creating this issue of excess supply at the same time, now all of a sudden they saying that Saudi Arabia has a balance sheet that can last for years, and that the Russians can manipulate the rupee, and same thing with China. So things like, but things with China is same thing, that they can also manipulate their currency as well. So that is the interesting factor about it, trying to bankrupt basically the economies, the oil companies here, because if we keep going in this direction, there will be, I believe they predicted about over 500 companies that have to go bankrupt. Could be up to 1,100. So that's something that's on the table there right now. But that being said, we'll get into today, and we'll take a look at what we have. It's going to be mainly small time frames, but that's what we have at the current moment. It's going to be small risks, but that is the also fundamental reason for further on anyway. All right, so the next topic also will be Netflix. Netflix into earnings, and the key thing about Netflix is, well, everyone is expecting that with this virus that people have been staying home, so should have many more subscribers. And the whole thing with that is, well, what is, it needs an outstanding number, right? So it's already baked in that it needs to be good. So it needs really an outstanding number to be extremely good, right? So that's another thing. Then we'll do an overall little sector, just a couple of sectors that we want to watch out for coming into today. All right, so yesterday, remember how we started out the session? We did watch out for the VIX, mainly because we wanted to see volatility start to pick up because it got very quiet as the markets got a little bit of a complacency coming in. And now you can definitely see that we have definitely picked up inside. So you can see where we were yesterday. Show you. As soon as I get my... Right, we were sitting down there, and now we did a little bit of a breakout outside of that range so far. And you can see we are headed a little bit closer to this 240 zone. Perhaps we'll find some buyers in the equities near there, but you can see where we are at the current moment. Now, one thing you want to watch out for too is we haven't had a, I've been looking at the energy sector. There hasn't been a major sell quite yet. So we shall take a look at that too as well, what's going on with that. But why don't we take a look at oil first, since that is the major topic, and then we'll switch on back to the S&P. Because it doesn't look like the other markets are picking up slightly, but not quite as much as what oil did overnight. So let's go take a look. All right, first of all, let's take a look at the bigger picture. You can see we took out the monthly. We'll go to there. So you can see this area here. Nothing too spectacular, but it did provide a couple of bounces for us. Since that time, you can see that we have pulled back and we have dropped down to make that new low coming in today down to about $12 or so. Go back to the 60-minute. So you'll have quite a bit of a gap here coming in at this 20-30. We are down at the 15 range. So this will be where prices have stalled out at the last pit session, and then we continue to fall. I know. I don't know why. I noticed that. Did you notice that too? I don't know if anybody else is getting it. I know it's saying Colgate. This isn't Colgate. It's for some reason saying it, because you can see it right here. It's the exchange is NYMEX. I have no clue why it's saying it on the back over there, but Colgate doesn't trade on the NYMEX, and yeah, so just ignore that. Well, that's with the contract months, right? So we do have a go one negative, one is still above 15 or $20 or so. So there is a difference coming in through there, but it shouldn't be for too long with that. But you can see right now what's down below. We do have an overnight low. Look at this range. Wow. Overnight high was 22.58. Overnight low is 11.79. Yesterday's low was 20.19. That range that we have. So what we have inside of here are some 2-minute areas. You can see the first one is starting at 14.87 to 14.33. and the second one is at 1409 to 1322. And like I said, with this is not that there's anything, it's just like any market that's making a new high, making a new low. What we've seen is extreme volatility taking prices down. And so now we have some smaller time frame levels where it's just a small risk type of opportunity. Not anything that's on a higher time frame just quite yet. So that would take still a little while to base out and form and all. So this is this type of situation that we have at the current moment with CL, right? Now, if you don't want to trade sale, there's also QM. So they have also very similar areas. Let's see if I have it here. On QM, those same areas are coming in at 1481, 1482 to 1443, and then 1410 to 1319. What you want to watch out for is at opposing, you do have where the breakdown was on the 240. So any sort of bounce up there, that's still an opposing area at the current moment on the 240. You can see up here it's at the 22. On CL, it's same thing. The prices are approximately the same. Okay. All right, so anyway, let's go on to, so we can always come back and take a look at that if it moves a little bit more. But let's go on now. Before I move on to equities, anybody catch, we've been watching this gold for a while, so remember, gave a couple of targets for the short side on the beginning of the week. You can see that this popped into the level. Some of you are asking, arrival and all of that, but you can see, given the overall situation, low risk opportunity given what was below, because you can see nothing really great in demand. This was the first area of profit taking. This was the second area. This second area was mainly because of the opposing demand that we had down below. Oh, nice job, Petra. Yeah. Let me just see what everybody's. Okay. So anytime what we're seeing, so these are custom to, so what you'll have to do is you'll have to go see which ones open at what time. So you just go on to the, I believe it's CME website, you could see it. So crude oil is going to be a little different than gold. Gold is going to be different than even copper. And of course, all of these are going to be different from their start and end time is going to be different from the equity markets. So same thing with bonds. They'll also have a different start and end time. All right, so you can see here down below. So some of you are saying you're still short. So whether you're moving, either you're moving down your stops, that's fine too. Some of you are trying to take some longs, and you are saying you already achieved some some close profits or some one-to-one or so. So that's a good job on that. Pretty quick bounce from 69 up to 80. You know, it doesn't look like much, but it's a pretty big move. Let alone from the 1764 all the way down to 1669, right? That's you know, you get a couple of those a year, you're fine. Yeah. We have the short right up here, right? This is the entry of your short. Isn't it not too much? You know, you don't have to do too much thinking. You know, yeah, you can try to get in the middle and all, but you can see you get in at the extreme points. Those give you your best opportunities. This lower one, you can see a nice little fake out, like a break below the previous lows, and you know, this is typically when you'll say, for instance, we don't have this here, right? And all of a sudden you're here for the day and you're looking like this, right? And you don't even have these lines here. Then you're starting to see it start to, you go, wow, nice little breakdown. Then you're waiting for it to break, and then by the time you wait for it to break, and then you're saying, well, let me try to get in, you know, then you try to get in, then before you know it, it's already back up again. So that's usually, you know, the things that happen when you're you know, focused on just what's going on at the current chart without having preparation anyway. All right, so excellent. Okay. So it's still moving right now. And you can see it'll test this yesterday's low again, and then come back up and test these previous highs again. So those look like the two close points of target-wise. But in terms of fresh supply above, you can see that these have all been tested. So if we really get some good movement inside the dollar and inside equities, it can go further. All right, let's take a look at the S&P. All right, so we can come back to that, but let's go take a look at what the equities are doing right now. All right, so S&P, we did close at the, let me bring this into a 60-minute. We did close at the 2806, and we're currently at 2754. So let's go take a look where that 2806 is. So that's right about there. So what you'll see is right above that gap there. You can see right where the, well, actually, I don't need a line because it says it right there, previous close. So you can see this was the previous close. Right above the previous close, you do have these overnight areas. That would be in a circle. Right, so you do have these overnight areas right above that gap area at that 28.14 up to the 28.24. Right now, you can see we're still holding very close zones, right? In terms of the move down, we're still holding this close supply. You also still have this 5-minute that's still right up above current price too as well. So some of the weakness has picked up a little bit since, you know, oil went first, and then this followed along. So you can see right now you still have even this little area right up above current price. That's 2764, 2770. Demand, it wasn't easy to really try to look for. So let's first take a look at this on the 60. So you can see all of this is not really a fresh area above, and then we have some smaller time frame that's going to come down a little bit lower. but you can really see that this nothing too fresh up here. So what I would do in this situation is kind of wait for little demands to form. I wouldn't just take these right off the bat like the way that this is right now. We could definitely see a turn if oil can hold, and so it's definitely a possibility, but since we don't have any fresh demand, we will wait for something is to form through that. Okay. And that's a lot of times what we like to use our, we have a automated tool where we can use it for one way or the other, either to look for some of these higher probability turning points areas, and another way is for new formation of levels during the trading day too as well. So two things that it's very good for. And sometimes you don't even realize it, but then it'll pop up in front of you. You're like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All right. So watch out for those things. Let's go on. So the Nasdaq. Let's take a look at this Nasdaq. Nasdaq has been the stronger market overall in general. You can see it has already come back to this first area overnight. The two up above. Our higher zones didn't quite get back there on the 10-minute, so you can keep those in play too as well. They're all overnight. What I'm looking at with the Nasdaq is everything is above and below current price is overnight. So these supply zones above current price is overnight. These demand zones below current price is also overnight. So nothing like the highest quality that I would say right now with the way things look. So again, you can wait for things to form as the day moves on, as we start to get into the trading session. Like we did point out a couple of overnights down below, and so what else I would look for in Nasdaq is, let's move into all right, let's take a look at tech here. So take a look at the XLK. Little bit of a gap down, not too much. You can see we finished at 87.75. We are currently at 86.16. If you look in relation to everything, 86.16. Really not a huge, right? Not a huge move there. You look at where we've come from below the 70 mark all the way up to almost 90, and you can see we're sitting right now about 86.16. And right up above, you do have the gap that's going to come a little bit above the 90 area, and the retested 240 zone at 94.61. But now you're going to have that gap below. We may very well go and fill the gaps. You know, you do have an open gap in Nasdaq, open gap in the Qs. We may very well go try to fill the gaps. So if you're still looking for shorting to try to get down there, you can. So these gaps, that's still in play. And down below, this, I believe this 30-minute is going to come in line with that 30-minute inside of the Qs as well. So you can see this is down at the 81.59 and 80.81. Inside of that, so we can take a look at a couple. You can see here on Netflix. So that will be the main one I'll watch today. Later on, we did have it did make new highs, form some demand zones, and you can see that the first one is bouncing from, but then we also have a lower one. You can see here at 397.24, 391.21. But like I said, today it would need a. I think if it's gonna really shoot up, it's gonna need an outstanding number, way above what they're believing, because they're already expecting many more subscribers. And if it's anything less, you're gonna see a sell-off, right? So that's one thing too. And this weekly area you can see is 370.95, 357.60. But like I say, keep on guard for that number. That if it is less than expected, or might not move a whole lot if it is expected. So we can see right now we went up to above 446. We're sitting at 443. Sometimes with these is you buy the rumor, sell the news type of thing too. So just be aware of that. But right now you can see it's just shooting to still new highs overall in general inside of this market. Okay. And the other one I was looking at was, Apple turned back up already. So yeah, it's almost back to where it started from. Was down at 272. Looks like it just did a little pop here. All right, so let's see here. So again, Apple's a little bit lower, that's 255, but you can see also coming to the gap too as well. Looks like, no, let me see if any of them has reached their gap overnight. Ooh, that could be a good reason why. Yeah, you can see right where it ended up overnight, right at the gap. So that 272 came right inside of this candle, right? And then now we pretty quickly, you can see popped up. Yeah, so right in that side of that gap candle, and now we're popped back up again. So that's one thing to know too. We did fill that gap overnight. Yeah, so now you know too, we did come into this area overnight. Okay. All right, so anyway, that's on Apple. All right, let's move back into okay, so we'll keep an eye on the Nasdaq. So if that starts to turn up, we can also see if we get some new areas of demand too with the Nasdaq, since that is the stronger market within the four. The Russell, you can see, has been the weakest market. Wait, let me just see where the Qs are on this pre-market also. Just want to take a look where the Qs are in relation here. All right, so you can see where the Qs are at 210.30. So there is still a gap down below at this 203 area. All right, let me take it back. So even though Apple filled its gap, the Nasdaq and the Qs haven't. So. All right, and then this 30-minute level is going to come in line with some of the other 30-minute areas that you can see. This upper one we didn't take because it has been filled in the overnight inside of the actual Nasdaq futures. So that's why the upper one we haven't looked at. This open gap still looks pretty decent in terms of finding some demand in here. Now, remember with all this, so like I said, we'll keep an eye on it for a little bit later on. We'll see if we can get some hold in some of these markets and form some new demand, and we could try to take some demands as well. But you can see too, this overall Russell has been continuing to fall from our supply zone that we've had for quite a while already at this 1244. Now we are down. Let me see which target have we gone to. 1173. So pretty much down to below this first one, closer to this second area. It was interesting overnight because the Russell didn't show much weakness. Now you can see it has started to pick up a little bit, but it has not dropped as much as the other. So I thought possibly we could still find some strength today just because we didn't have a whole lot of selling pressure inside of the Russell, but it is starting to pick up a little bit more. This area you can see, remember, this is overnight and a retested, and then of course our fresher one is still, and even this is overnight too. So Russell really doesn't have a lot of great demands underneath. They are overnight. A lot of times if they are overnight, I'll wait for a little bit of a hold or formation of new demands too, instead of just taking a old overnight area. But it's good to have just so you have an idea of where possibly prices can try to hold on to. Same thing here with the IWM. We had the same levels inside the IWM. So we should be right inside nearing your second area of target right now. And then you can see where really the gap is, that below this area that we have to fill. That's going to be coming in closer to the 104. That would be if it nears into your third area. A lot should have to do with what's going to happen with the earnings that's going to come in, because that should weigh on the markets later on. So the other thing I wanted to look at before I want to give up. So this is what we like to do during coming into the day, right? So we like to start. For those of you I missed the oil, but we'll come back again if we need to at the end. So we like to start and take a look. So overnight, those of you have heard the news about the North Korea president who had heart surgery, and they said, no, he's okay, he's working. And others say, no, he's not okay. So that you don't know what's going on. So the Nikkei in itself, just because it's overall Asia, has also become a bit weak too as well. So I put this area, but we have fallen. Yeah, we've continued to fall from there since then. So anyway, we could still keep it up here, 19,706 to 19,769 on the supply side. The daily is still a little bit higher. As you can see, we haven't quite got back there. We are still inside of this overall range at the bottom. And 30-minute, no, daily. Yeah, so that's mainly what I'm looking at with the Nikkei in general. And then, so that'll be the first market. So they had some sort of news. Them coming into the DAX, they were actually not too bad to start off, but then I believe started to weaken a little bit more with the rest of the markets. Then the two for the zone we have from previously, you can see too, it reached a couple of targets, but for those of you that came back and then now it's coming back down again, the lower demand's not coming in till 10.045 to 9990 on the DAX. On the 60-minute, let me see what I have on the 60-minute. The reason I put this here is because it looked like it was forming some supply. So you can see up here on the 1060 area, 105544, 10626. Those of you that never traded the DAX, make sure you. The DAX is one of those markets, I always say, that if you're not prepared for it, definitely don't trade it. You definitely need to watch it for a little bit. It's one of those markets. It starts at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and if you're on the East Coast time, a lot of times it's not easy to get up. So usually, if you get up, you're going to be getting some coffee, some energy drinks, or something of that sort, or whatever you use. But if you put a trade on in the DAX, you don't really need it. It'll wake you up instantaneously. It's just one of those markets that it's a mover, and it does get your heart going. So it is a natural stimulant. But what's interesting about them is that it does start off your day. You can see with the news overall in Asia, then moving into Europe, and then moving into U.S. All right, let's move to the bonds. Yeah, people used to always say, well, I don't know, I don't get it. How do you do it? Well, how you do it, you just put on a trade, because if you're ever half asleep, you put on a trade, you're not half asleep anymore. I'll tell you that much. You're full awake there. All right, let's do bonds. So let's go to bonds. All right, remember too, we've been watching. Now let me move to this chart. All right, let's go to. All right, so you can see here, we've been waiting for a while for this to happen. So the bonds have been very, very quiet, but we said that, we've tested this supply zone quite a few times. So we were looking for it to start to break out. It just took a while. It's still a lot slower than the overall markets, but you can see here that we have started to continue to form a little bit of demands on its way up. As you can see, this is an overnight. This you can see if it really, to be honest, this one I would trust in more in general if we could really take out that 30-year. Right, the 10-year is starting to pick up steam along with the 5-year and 2-year, but you can see that it's just starting to get out of this demand zone. Out of this demand zone. So let's move to the 30-year. So the 30-year on the same, so we have a all right, 240 that's getting closer to the 184, 25, 186.17. Down below, the 60-minute, this one already came down into, so this one's getting a little bit far, but on the 5-minute, let's go take a look at that. And one thing too for the, if you start to see a hold in the stock market, and possibly a little formations of the supply to the downside of the bonds, you could definitely try to short some too as well, if that's a scenario that comes in a little bit later on. Here on the very close end, you can see we do have an overnight area. That's coming in at the 181.16 to 181.12. Down below on the 5-minute, location-wise, it's not that great, but it does, you can see where it is. But it looks like it did have a nice little break out of this basing. So this is at the 180.15, 180, 180.10. Okay, so with the, we did crude at the very beginning, but let's take a look at the overall energy sector. The overall energy sector, as you can see here on the XLE, so we're at 32.87. So basically this gap is holding. And now we're at 31.60. To me, it's not huge, right? If you take a look at where this gap is at, and we have two more gaps up above, 31.60 takes us right about there, right? So very much like the stock market, made a nice move off of the lows. Not a huge sell-off inside of these markets. So it's interesting to me because it feels like it's not as bad perhaps in the rest of the markets as it's looking. So down here, where else do we look at? And then 30-minute. Let me go to 30-minute. You can see down below on the 30-minute, we have a retested area that's coming in at 26.80 to 25.68. The other thing I will look at too is, so you can see a couple of these stocks that are in here. Not so much, I would go more for the higher ones, HES, XOM, COP, CVS, those markets, if they start to, show some weakness, but overall, if they can hold up some strength and CL, that will help even more. But you can see they are stronger overall in general. Today, everything's now a little bit in the red, of course, but overall, it's been holding up fairly decent comparing to the overall the crude oil market. Then the other one, I still believe that, everybody's, hey, what, little sidetrack here. What's the one good thing about today? What do you guys feel like, guys and girls? What do you guys feel like the one good thing about today, with today's news and everything is, with all this craziness? But has anybody noticed? I just want to see who's really noticed. What's the good thing about today? I noticed it right away when I was listening to the news. I was like, finally. I'll give you guys a little second to answer. Let me move. Okay, so yeah, gas is very cheap. Yes, yeah. Those are all true, but guess what I was, we are coronavirus free news. I've never heard that in the last probably 2 months. I was like, wow, something finally took it down. I was like, phew, thank you. I couldn't handle it no more. Oh. Yeah. But don't forget the financials. I still feel like the financials is still a very, very important market in terms of, just where we're going, because this whole situation, people are still out of work. People are still a lot of things going on between loans and everything, and so the credit market, that still has to be on watch. And when I looked at it today, I looked at, the few banks that I, try to pay attention to. So what I'm seeing right now, well, let's start with this weekly. Take a look at the weekly. We are bouncing off of a little weekly area. Not a great little bounce, but bouncing nonetheless. And then down below is really where we've had that nice, very nice move off of the lows here, right? So this is the situation we're looking at on the bigger picture on the weekly. We're holding into this little supply that's sitting. Now, right now, we are below this gap too as well, 2140. The gap was at 2236. And a little bit higher, we have another gap at 2503. But what really caught my attention, so what I'm looking at is these three. So when I look at JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Wells Fargo we know had a lot of issues just in general. But what I've noticed, so JP Morgan's always been more of, he's come out and said, this is an issue, right? He just basically came out and said it. But they've always been one that's been a little bit more careful, I think, with loans and everything. Wells Fargo used to be more, we can get you a loan, blah, blah, blah. Now they've gotten to the other extreme, right, where they need tons and tons of information. So they're probably hardly giving out anything. So they're having a lot of issues on top of all the other issues that they've had. And then you have PNC, who is the other extreme. Oh, I get you cheap this and that, I there and have it this and that. So then I'm looking at PNC and I'm saying, well, yeah, they're doing better than everybody, but they're giving out lower rates. They're credit cards and things like that, and giving out more and everything. So are they going to be affected more if this something were to happen inside of the credit market? So those are the three I'm just on the little bit of a watch out for in terms of if we start to do more of an issue inside of the credit market, because I do think that will weigh on the overall markets if that were to come into play. So that will take still a little bit more time to play out. But keep it in mind. Don't forget the financials. As sometimes you get sidetracked with all of these, but don't forget them. All right. Let me move to, I do have copper before I move to the Forex. Oh, copper's way gone now. Yeah, copper's just, it's gone. Yeah, I was looking, it wasn't that bad when I first started. That was a little while ago. Now we've completely sold off here. All right. Interesting, a copper is selling off like this. Usually when copper sells off, that's more of a China/demand kind of problem. Otherwise, copper would not take this big of a it's kind of resuming the move that it's been in. But this big of a move is kind of telling me that there's something brewing inside somewhere. Well, let's take a look at the 5-minute. 5-minute, you do have a couple little 5-minute areas on the overnight. Yeah, if it's selling off this hard, something's going on. Yeah, they usually will be most directed by China and some sort of a issue going on, production. All right, so you do have a little bit of overnights coming in at 22236 up to 2235. All right. Oh, and nat gas, I do want to take a nat gas. We just missed our 15-minute zone down below, so still keep that in play. 5-minute, we do have this retested area that still looks okay. 1785, 1768. The other thing I'm kind of looking out for in nat gas is this, which is you can see here. Okay, so we've been holding below this a gap for a little bit. So not that you want to initially take any breakout with the move, but what I would start to look out for is, you can see we're finally starting to, and it's been a long time, right? It's been a long time where now we have this little, bottom here, and we started to move out nat gas. Nat gas can be very momentum based at times. So if you don't have any really good supply zones above current price, so you can see a lot of this has been tested. I would go down a little bit smaller, and just to make sure, just in case you're not, don't buy into a supplier. You don't want to do that. But what will happen a lot of times, if you start to get more and more people involved in it, you're going to start to build smaller time frame areas that's going to come in during the overall trading day, that's going to try to take you up, because it can be a market that's very, very momentum based, just like when it was coming down. It can be that way on the way up too. So this could be an area where people are just watching to see if we really start to get that extra amount of people. It's always, of course, it's good. We want to buy at the low risk area, but I'm just letting you know it is something that you want to watch out for as the trading day starts, and we start to, if we can try to break up higher quicker. All right, let's move on to the dollar. All right, so the dollar showing, you can see, starting to break a little bit of our little triangle here. It has started to pick up more steam with the what do you call it? The equity markets on the weakness. It acts a little bit more as a safe haven overall in general. And you can see we're still in the middle of the range though. So in terms of a huge move, not huge, we're still in the middle of the range, but it is in the last few days starting to pick up some steam. We're still inside of our 60-minute areas. So for those of you that were trying to hold on to the CD area, we basically hit the targets. Right, so this was our 15-minute zone. We had a couple of 15-minute zones on top of each other. I kind of separated them into two groups for you. So those of you that were trying to hang on to it, we were able to reach all three targets here in the close end. Now with the crude bouncing a little bit, you can see too that this is bouncing a little bit. This is, what interesting picture. Now you have crude bouncing a little bit. We could possibly have the Canadian dollar. It's going to be slower because you need the dollar to help you. So if the dollar is gaining strength, this is not going to be as it's not going to bounce as great as crude. It'll hold, but if you have a dollar that's strong, it's only going to hold so much. But I think what's interesting here is, this is really where you should be getting short, or, we even got in on the second area. But this is usually where people tell you to get short, right? Isn't that like the old, what people always say? Oh, well, it's a break of the trend, so now this is the time to get short. Meanwhile, we already fell from 72.18 down to this area, right? The 78.80, but yeah, this is the time that you want to. That's what people always tell you. Oh, there we go. That was a. Let me just see here. take a look what it looks like. Well, we'll come back in a second so I don't lose my thought on this. So with the dollar Swissy, okay, so dollar Swissy. Let's see what I'm looking at with the dollar Swiss. Oh, dollar, not dollar Swissy, dollar CAD. Sorry, I was moving. All right, dollar CAD. So a couple of things. So we have a upper supply zone that's still coming in at 144.31, so 144.87. And of course, the other thing I'll look forward to is if we start to turn around in a little bit of a smaller time frame. We're not at, you can see we're not at great areas, right? But for profit taking on the CD, that you want to take the easy profits on there. Down below, we still have a little bit of demand coming in at 14092 to 14066. And then I am going to move to the other page. And let's move to I think we're out of the yen trades too. Okay. All right, let me take a look at the Euro USD. Okay, so on the bigger picture, we've still been hitting this monthly a couple of times. The fresher monthly area is still below, which is going to take us a little bit below parity if that happens, as you can see. Right now, we still have a, oh, that came pretty close, actually. Oh, huh. Maybe. Well, you can see this 15-minute right up above, 108.54, 108.60. Came pretty close to it. And the 120 is a little bit higher. That's coming in at 11063 to 11037. All right, that's on the Euro USD. So I said I'll do some spot market day. Yesterday I did the futures, so today we're doing spot. The Aussie, you got same thing here. You got the 120-minute coming in at 63.37, 63.53, and a demand down at 60.97, 60.67. In the futures, this looked a little bit better. Over here, you can see it kind of wicked out of the area. So that's what's concerning me in general with this closer demand area. You can watch out for it, but like I said, it did wick out a little bit on this demand area. For the pound, these things they all fall in a little bit more. So I was looking at this 15-minute, which is at 123.90 to 124. And what you can watch out for too on the daily is this. We don't have anything great. There is some room down below. You can start to see if we start to break and then form a new daily supply. So that's something you can watch out too for the overall pound. So I'm assuming the dollar's picking up a little bit more steam. Let's go back and take a look at the okay. All right, so just real quick too, what I'm going to do is I'll pull up, oh wait, actually this is not, I'll go inside. So like I said, with our automated tool on the short-term side, a little bit earlier on, we had a little entry off of this area, and we've already taken profit on it on a move down, Sam and I. So that's on the with the automated tool. You know, these are a couple of things that we want to bring to you. I want to bring to you into the new venture that I am starting. So let me just show you bring up so anybody who needs to email it out. So with this, you know, there's a lot of things I couldn't do inside of OTA. Oh, the crude. Yeah, that's right. Okay. And so now I do want to bring in some other things that I like to share with you with this new venture. But I will bring up crude too as well. So let's see. I'll get the charts. Bring that back up, and we'll take a look at it. Let me just get to it. Where did I put it? Oh, okay, I must have put it in the other. Okay, I'll get it up in a second. I'm just trying to find it. 1 second. Open it up a little bit. A little bit. Okay, I'm just gonna set up. All right, here we go. And let me bring it back. All right, so this is the look of things. So, like I said, the only thing is, this isn't any sort of higher time frame area or anything. It's just little, you know, you can see 2-minute areas inside of this last move up, and it looks like it's in between the two. You can see with the combination of the two. So it's really this 1487 down to 1322. So the only reason for this would be a you know, little bit of a low risk type area, but not a, you know, since crude is making a new low, we're just seeing if it did capitulate a little bit, and then see if there's some buying that comes in through these lows. All right. Okay, so great to see all of you, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.